The storm began the moment Sarah Langford crossed the town line into Merrow Creek, as if the sky itself resented her return. A veil of fog hugged the asphalt, reducing visibility to feet, and rain lashed at the windshield with a fury that felt personal. Her tires hissed on the wet road, and somewhere beyond the mist, the whisper of the forest called to her. She hadn't been back in nearly 20 years, not since her parents died in a fire that razed half of the Langford estate. Raised by an aunt in New York, Sarah had buried that part of her life until the lawyer called. "Your uncle passed. You're the last of the Langfords. The house and the land are yours now." The house, the land, the curse. The letter had been old, handwritten in careful script on yellowing paper. "If you return to the Langford house, remember what your mother told you. They knock, but they cannot enter unless you invite them. Never let them in." Sarah had scoffed at the melodrama. She was a data analyst, a woman of numbers and logic. But now, with the forest pressing close and the sky split by lightning, the words felt less like superstition and more like prophecy. The house rose from the mist like a forgotten memory. Ivy strangled its stone walls. The once grand windows were now dark eyes, watching. As she stepped out of the car, her boots sank into soft, damp earth. Thunder rumbled low and long, like the growl of something ancient. Inside, the air was stale. Dust coated everything in a fine gray film. Cobwebs hung like funeral veils. She found the fuse box and flipped the main switch. Lights flickered reluctantly to life, casting long shadows. In the study, she found more of her uncle's writings, journals filled with scrawled warnings. They mimic the voices of loved ones. They scratch inside the walls. The third knock is the invitation. Sarah rolled her eyes. Years of isolation had clearly driven the man mad. She closed the journal and headed upstairs. That night, she dreamed of fire. She was a child again, the house aflame around her. Smoke stung her eyes as shadowed figures stood outside her window, unmoving, watching. Knock, knock, knock. She woke with a start. The sound echoed in her ears. A chill seeped through the room. Rain lashed at the windows, but she was sure she'd heard it. 3 knocks. She forced herself to check the front door. Nothing. Only the wind. Only the storm. She went back to bed, telling herself she imagined it. But the knocks returned the next night. And the next. Always at the same time. Always 3. Knock, knock, knock. Sarah began keeping track of the knocks. Midnight. Every night. 3 perfectly timed knocks. No more. No less. She recorded the sounds with her phone, hoping to catch something rational. The wind, an animal, old pipes. But the recordings only confirmed what she already knew. Something was outside, and it was trying to come in. One morning, after yet another restless night, she found claw marks on the inside of the front door. Thin, deliberate lines, carved deep into the wood. That wasn't there the night before. She searched the house for signs of rodents or stray animals. Nothing. No holes, no nests. But she did find something else. A hidden compartment in her uncle's desk. Inside it, another journal, older, bound in cracked leather. This one was different. It wasn't warnings. It was a record. Names, dates, times. March 14th, 1952. Emily heard them. She opened the door. They took her. June 3rd, 1979. They mimicked father's voice. We buried an empty coffin. September 27th, 1995. I watched them take Robert. He screamed until the fog swallowed him. Sarah slammed the journal shut, heart racing. This wasn't her uncle's madness. This was history. A legacy of horror passed down through her bloodline. She began researching the town's history. Merrow Creek had been founded in the late 1700s, a settlement built on superstition and old-world fear. She found mention of an old ritual, the sealing of the threshold, performed to keep the spirits of the forest at bay. She needed help. At the town library, she met a man named Jacob Granger, a historian, quiet and meticulous. He listened as she recounted the knocks, the dreams, the journal. "You shouldn't have come back," he said. "They've been waiting." The Langfords were the only line that held the boundary. "Your uncle died, and the seal broke. Now they're testing you." "Testing me?" "To see if you'll let them in." That night she didn't sleep. She sat by the door, journal in her lap, a knife in her hand. The clock ticked closer to midnight. And then it came. Knock, knock, knock. "Sarah," a voice whispered. "It's Mom. Please, sweetheart. I'm cold. Let me in." Sarah bit her lip until it bled. Her mother had died in the fire. She had heard her scream as the house collapsed. "Please, baby. I just want to see you." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "You're not her," she said. Silence. Then a low growl, guttural and furious, vibrated through the door. The handle twisted. Sarah screamed and plunged the knife into the wood, through the claw marks. The growl stopped, and for the first time, the knocking did not return. But the house was not silent. Now the scratching came from the walls. The scratching grew louder with each passing day. Not mice, not raccoons. It was rhythmic, intentional. A pattern that reminded Sarah of fingernails against a coffin lid. She avoided the second floor, where the sounds were most aggressive. And then, they moved, into the floor beneath her feet. Jacob returned to the house with her, armed with tools and old blueprints. "There's something buried beneath the library," he said. "It's not on any town maps. A room that shouldn't exist." They pried up the floorboards, revealing a stone hatch sealed with rusted iron. Carvings lined its border, runic, ancient, whispering secrets. Jacob hesitated. This is the seal. This is what your family protected." Together, they pried it open. The air that escaped was fetid, warm, as if exhaled by something alive. A staircase descended into the earth, and at the bottom, candle stubs, symbols drawn in blood, and chains, broken. "They were imprisoned here," Jacob muttered. "Your family didn't ward them off. They trapped them." Sarah's blood ran cold. The walls began to whisper. Not voices, but emotions. Sorrow, rage, hunger. She turned to run, but Jacob didn't follow. His eyes were vacant, his mouth moving soundlessly. "They promised to show me," he said. "What comes after?" Before she could reach him, something pulled him into the dark. Bone cracked, flesh tore, and the whispers turned to screams. Sarah slammed the hatch closed and sealed it with salt and fire. But the floor still throbbed beneath her. She had delayed them, not stopped them. And now, they knew her name. The house no longer slept. Sarah began to notice changes, reflections in mirrors that didn't match her movements, cold spots in rooms with no drafts. The clocks began to tick backward between midnight and dawn, and always, the voices in the walls whispered her name. She barely ate, barely slept. She caught herself staring at the front door for hours at a time, transfixed by the memory of the knocks. One night, while sorting through the attic, she found a bundle of letters from her mother. Most were mundane, recipes, childhood advice, holiday greetings. But one stood out. It had never been mailed, its envelope marked in red wax with the Langford crest. "Sarah, if you're reading this, it means you've returned. I failed to stop them. I fear your uncle did too. The house will hollow you out if you let it. The trick isn't surviving them. The trick is not becoming them. Don't listen when they offer you peace. Don't trust what wears your face. And above all, Sarah, never let them in." The attic light flickered, then went out. In the silence, Sarah heard movement behind her. Turning slowly, she saw a figure standing at the edge of the attic stairs. Her own face stared back at her, eyes empty, mouth smiling. "I just want to talk," it said, in her exact voice. Sarah didn't move, didn't breathe. The thing tilted its head, then stepped back into the shadows. From the floor below came a sound she had not heard in days. Knock, knock, knock. Sarah barricaded herself in the attic, nailing boards across the trapdoor. But it was futile. The house had no need for doors when the enemy was already inside. The double of her, what she called the hollow, was no longer content to mimic. It wandered freely now, seen out of the corner of her eye. It whispered behind her in the same voice. It laughed when she cried. And worse, it wasn't alone. In mirrors, she saw faces that weren't hers, people she didn't know. Victims, perhaps. Echoes. One was a child with hollow sockets, another an old woman smiling with far too many teeth. The knocking became constant. Not just 3, but dozens of knocks at once, all around the house. Windows, walls, under the floor, inside her head. Then, one night, a new sound. A voice. Jacob's. Sarah, it's okay now. I saw the other side. It's beautiful. Come see it with me. She slammed her hands over her ears. You're not real. You're not him. Don't you miss your parents? A softer voice asked. Her mother's. We're waiting, sweetheart. You just have to say yes. The door to the attic rattled. The boards splintered. Sarah ran. Down the stairs, through the halls. The house twisted around her. Rooms changed. Doors vanished. Her childhood bedroom was now a pit of writhing shadows. She found herself in the library. The seal was broken. The hatch open. And the things beneath were climbing out. She turned to run and saw herself again. The hollow, blocking the door. It opened its mouth. Her voice came out. Welcome home. Sarah didn't scream. Not anymore. The house had taken that too. Her voice belonged to the hollow now, spoken from a mouth that wasn't hers, echoing through walls that pulsed like lungs. She was no longer certain where the house ended, and she began. Down in the library, the seal was open. From its depths, shapes emerged, not with grandeur or cinematic terror, but quietly, patiently, like worms from a corpse, like memory returning. They looked like people, twisted versions of the dead, familiar faces stretched too long, eyes that stared too hard. One bore her father's face, though he had been cremated. Another had her own voice but laughed when it cried. Sarah had one chance. She ran, not up, but down. Into the basement, past the broken seal, into the darkness that pulsed like a heartbeat. Her fingers brushed symbols she'd traced in books and blood. She remembered the ritual Jacob found, the sealing of the threshold. She had the chalk, the salt, the words, and she had the pain. She stood at the edge of the abyss. The things circled her now, whispering, pleading, threatening. You are us. We are you. You were never whole. Let us fill you. Open the door. Say it. Let us in. Sarah began to draw. Circles, sigils, glyphs from a time before language. Her hands bled. Her eyes burned. The hollow stood across from her now, watching. Why fight it? You're already breaking. We can put you back together. Sarah spoke the final word. The room screamed. The air rippled. The things convulsed. The floor beneath her glowed with ancient fire. She felt her skin peel back, her soul fray like thread. But the circle held. One by one, the shadows turned to ash. The hollow smiled, then shattered like glass. The seal closed. Sarah awoke in daylight. The house was silent, the door unmarked, the mirrors clean. Her reflection was hers again. She packed her things, left the journals, burned the salt circle into the wood of the floor as a final warning. As she walked down the path, she didn't look back. But somewhere in the walls, in the dark places beneath the house, the knocking began again. Knock, knock, knock. The silence didn't last. 2 weeks after Sarah left the manor, she began dreaming of doors. In the dreams, they weren't just physical. They were choices. Memories she had buried. Pain she never healed. Each dream ended with the same whisper. We're still here. You never let us in, but you didn't close us out either. Sarah moved to a high-rise in the city. Concrete and glass, crowds and lights. Nothing like the forest-wrapped void of the manor. But sometimes, late at night, she would hear knocking on the walls. Just 3 taps, Knock, knock, knock. She told herself it was the neighbors, old plumbing, rats. Until the night she saw her own reflection blink out of sync again. She fell back. The mirror cracked. That night, the dreams intensified. She stood at the foot of the manor's stairs again. But this time, the door opened before she could knock, and waiting there was a version of her. Not the hollow, but a girl. Younger. Before the trauma. Before the house. "You left me behind," the girl whispered. "You sealed the house, but not the hurt." Sarah woke screaming. She went to her closet, opened it slowly. Nothing. But on the inside of the door, scratched in chalk, "Let us in." Sarah tried to research what she had unleashed. She contacted paranormal experts, occultists, even priests. None could help. "It's not a haunting," one woman told her. "It's a resonance. Whatever bonded with you, it echoes through every choice you make now." Sarah sat in silence after that. Then, another knock. She looked out the peephole of her apartment. Nothing. But when she turned back, her apartment was no longer hers. It was the manor. The hallway had stretched. The wallpaper faded. The lights flickered with candlelight. Her own door was gone. Standing at the other end of the hall was the hollow. But it had changed. Taller. More solid. It smiled. "We don't need the house anymore. You brought us with you." Sarah turned and ran. But every door led to another hallway. Another knock. Another whisper. "Let us in." Sarah's world unraveled. Every room she entered now shimmered with echoes of the manor. Reflections showed walls lined with books and chains. Windows revealed moonless forests where city lights should be. She couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. The knocking came at all hours, now from inside her. Then, the dreams stopped. Because Sarah had stopped waking up, she wandered the halls of her apartment turned maze, every door a memory, every shadow a reflection of the hollow. And it no longer wore her face. It wore everyone's. Jacob. Her mother. Her father. Even the little girl she never got to be. The hollow whispered, "You opened the door when you remembered. You fed us when you feared. Now, become." Sarah felt herself fraying. Her skin no longer felt solid. Her name felt foreign. She screamed, but the walls absorbed it. Outside, her friends noticed. No one had seen Sarah in days. Her texts turned cryptic. "Don't knock. It hears names. The door isn't real." Maya, her co-worker, broke into the apartment. She found nothing. No furniture. No belongings. Just a floor etched with a burned salt circle. And in the mirror, for a fraction of a second, Sarah's face, smiling, backwards. Somewhere between dimensions, in a place where time collapses and memory feeds the dark, Sarah walks an endless hallway. She is not alone. Dozens walk with her now. Others who let them in. Some weep. Some scream. Most are silent. The hollow walks behind them, patient, eternal. Every now and then someone knocks. Just 3 taps. And somewhere in the waking world, a door creaks open. Never let them in.